Hi, I'm Amelia. I work with EVCOM, and welcome to our final skills share of the week. We've heard from 7 different people from across the EVCOM community so far, and we're going to be closing with the wonderful Katie Morhen from 5283PR. So we're really excited to have her. Let me just add her in there. So Katie's going to be sharing her top tips with us on how to get the press interested in your event. So it should be a really interesting session. How are you, Katie? Hi.
I'm good, thank you. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Great, great, great.
Yeah. By way of
Thank you.
introduction, I'm just going to read out your bio.
Okay, yeah, go
So Katie is dedicated to the events community and believes in technological innovation, crafting the optimum attendee experience, delivering new audiences, and cultivating an empowered events community. Having worked at the coalface at Reed Exhibitions and Easyfairs, Katie uses her experience gained over 15 years as an in to help suppliers understand organisers better. So she's in a great position to share with us her knowledge today.
on. Thank you for having me, and this is great, and feel very privileged to be the last person on your Skillshare.
Saving the best last, of course. That's it. So let's begin, I guess, with the
Mm,
headline question of the session, and then we can drill
mm,
down into some more detailed aspects of it.
sure.
How do you get the press interested in your event? Let's start there.
Well, I think the important thing to remember, and this is what I try and tell people all the time, is that press are inundated with emails, and they get thousands of emails a day, and they get invited to the opening of an envelope. They really do. So, so for them, going to another event is like, okay, great. What's in it for them? And especially in COVID, post COVID-19, getting the press away from their desks, away from their homes, and attending events is going to be really tricky. So you kind of need to spell out for them two things. Firstly, you need to spell out what they're going to experience. How many times do you just invite them along and then just sort of let them roam around your event? Secondly, and also part of that is, if they're just going to get a soggy sandwich, why would they even attend? They're probably just like, no, no, thank you. And the second thing is you really need to spell out the story. So press, they're under deadlines all the time. They need stories, they need, we've got 24-hour news channels. Even if it's B2B, they've got to keep those social channels going with news. So what story are they going to get out of attending? And that sometimes you really need to pick out for them. I recently did the marketing and PR a couple of years ago actually now for an engineering event. It was a maintenance engineering event, and we hadn't seen the press for a long, long time. So I looked at the data that they had, and it turns out that over a third of the exhibitors were actually launching new products at the show. So, okay, that became the story. There's innovation in innovation in the industry. An industry that's not known for innovation is happening at the show, and it's happening over 2 days. So sometimes you really have to tease out the story and hand the hook to the editors so that they really understand and appreciate what they can see and what they can get out of it.
Completely, yeah, absolutely. Um, and you talked a little bit there about sort of during event press experience.
Mm,
I think we talk a lot about pre-event. What does a press? How do we go out to press, etc. But in terms of
mm,
actually making sure they have an enjoyable experience at your event, how
mm.
can you make that happen? And how important is that journey for the press at your event?
Yeah, I think so. One of the things that people say is that marketing is, I can't remember the exact phrase, but that, marketing is in your control, and you can control the message, and it's your message, and you just send it out via the channels. With PR, you aren't in control of what that message is. You don't know what they're going to write about you. And so many times I see, press invited to events, and then they're just sort of left alone to experience it on their own. So actually, you kind of need to, they're the original influencers. So if you're thinking about it in that way, what would you do with an influencer who had, 300,000 followers? You would give them imagery straight away. You would have them, they wouldn't wait a week to get photos. You would make sure they had special press opportunities. They would get access to the photographers, and imagery is so important. So make sure you've got something in place so they either get it straight away or they get it at the end of that day, even if it's a few images. I would also make sure they had a really good experience. So are they going to get exclusive access to your event? Are they going to see, if you're running a pop-up event, for example, are they going to experience it first? If you've got a pop-up event that's happening in the centre of London, you need the press to be there at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., so they can be the first to experience it. Actually, understand it, and get that first so that they can be first out there with that news. If it's a trade exhibition or if it's a B2B conference, could they get access to speakers, your keynote speakers? And think about giving them access to exclusive information as well. They don't all want the same story, they want a different angle. So, you know, if you've got an award ceremony, for example, think about how that press, what that news outlet is championing. If they're championing sustainability, who can you get them in front of that would, you know, be great headline? Like, who could they interview, who could they speak about, who could they meet? And if they're looking to, if they can find something that's interesting, if they can find something that's exclusive for them, they're more likely to give you that post-event coverage, or even at their day coverage, and on their social channels.
Completely, that's so true, the individualizing of it. I guess that, yeah, that sort of links to what I was going to ask about next, is exactly how you should reach out. And, you know, is there anything that, any key ingredients that makes a really great press release or anything like that? Or is it something that, you know, actually can't be done in an across the board way and needs to be looked at in a much more individual way?
Yeah, so the days of just sending out a press release to, you know, all of your press release, just spamming it, they're sort of gone, really. You do get some coverage, but you won't get the engagement that you want. Really, you need to pick out a few titles and pitch them individual features. So if you are sending out a press release, make sure you've got the basics covered. So make sure it's no longer than sort of 500 words max. Make sure you've got really good images, so not stock images, nothing that's sort of, you know, we've all got Unsplash, so don't know, no Unsplash images. Make sure, you know, ideally of people. So if you've got team members, I just book in photographers to come in like on a 4 to 6 monthly basis, because everybody looks different in every 6 months, and you've got different outfits on, and you can get more casual pictures, and you need to get every member of your senior team, and it's more than just getting the headshots. It's, you know, having a whole wealth of imagery of your team and at your event. So make sure you're sending an image. Make sure you're sending an image that looks good when it's cut horizontally and vertically. These are the just sort of basics, but they're really important. And so many people don't send it, you know, don't send them. But you've just got to make that journalist's life a lot easier. And then just really individual pictures. So look at what they've got. They might have opinion features. They might like listicles. So, you know, 10 things that you can learn about from your event. You know, that might be, they might do those weekly. So pitch ideas that suit their title and suit their editorial output. Put the heads of your business up for features and articles and opinion pieces, as long as they fit in with your brand. And perhaps you might need to write them, but depending on who your leadership team is. But yeah, really tailor that content. You're much more likely to get coverage. And when you are tailoring the content and you are sending those emails to press, then just make sure they know that it's exclusive. I always, whenever I say, look, this is an exclusive opportunity, I always hear back from a member of the press, because they're so used to seeing just generic stories. So it's more work, but you're much more likely to get that engagement, and you're much more likely to actually see the return as well.
Completely, that's fantastic advice. Thank you. And in terms of making sure that you're reaching out to the right people, the right bits of the press, etc., do you have any advice on that? How to make sure, yeah, you're going out to the right people and building those relationships with people? Is that via social media, in real life, emails, etc.?
Well, ideally, you know, in an ideal world, we'd all take everybody out to the Ritz and have a nice dinner with everyone with the press. But that's just not possible. No one has the budget for that anymore. So it is about, you know, there's a various ways of doing it, really. You can reach out over social media. Again, they get lots and lots and lots of emails. So, you know, email, don't expect an instant response from email. I think with the press, they like people who respond quickly. They like people who respond with all the information. If they give you a deadline, make sure you stick to it. That's the sort of the basics of just building up that professional relationship. And then when they're at your event, make sure, you know, or if you see them in other events, make sure you check in with them. Don't bother them too much. They're a bit like industry celebrities, you know. If they're sitting there having their dinner, don't go and, just bombard them, but just, just build tactical relationships. Social media is a good way of doing it as well. Again, liking and feeding into what they're doing. A lot of press also on Twitter, use Twitter to call out for stories. So make sure you're following your press on LinkedIn and on Twitter, because they often do call outs for looking for experts, and that's a good opportunity for you to say, oh, I've got an expert in that particular field, and they'll remember you for being ultra helpful. Especially if you stick to deadline. So and you provide something that's really interesting. But I think really, press are looking for people who have got something to say, people who've got something dynamic to say, and you don't have to conform, as long as you're not, you're outspoken in a positive way. I think that's a really good way of engaging with the press and to get the story and get your brand noticed.
Completely. Well, thank you so much. I certainly feel like I've learnt huge amounts about engaging with the press, sort of pre-event, during, and post. It it's a big process, isn't it? And something that needs serious thought.
And I've got a little video on my website that says, is your event press worthy? So if anybody wants some more information, there's a sort of 20-minute video on my website that I've done in lockdown that that sort of gives a bit more of a step-by-step guide. But if not, just drop me a DM, and I'm always happy to chat to anybody in more detail.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. Check that out. Katie is very good at all this stuff. So
not sure about that.
You are. Well,
Brilliant.
thank you so much for joining us. That was
Thank you.
a really valuable session, and it'll be up on our website very soon, and on IGTV and everything. And this actually brings us to the end of our week of skill shares. So yeah, thank you to Katie, but also thank you to all of the people who've joined us over the course of the week, our sharers and contributors, and the people who've joined us live and via our recordings. Yeah, thank you so much. And nearly the weekend. Have a lovely
Yes. Thanks, Amelia.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.